Welcome to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran and former brick-and-mortar boutique owner who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. How often have you heard people say, even me, that you can't run your business by yourself? That you need to hire help, maybe even before you're ready? And yes, that is true, especially for a physical product-based business when you've got orders to pack and ship. There are real tangible things that need to get done, and at some point, you're gonna need another set of hands. But what nobody really talks about is what happens when the person you hired is actually making your life harder, when the help you brought on is creating more work for you, not less, when you're spending so much time managing someone that you haven't actually freed up any of your own time, you've just shifted what you're doing with it. Now, in some cases, that might be okay for you. Managing someone to do the thing might be better than doing the thing. I get that. But if your goal of hiring is so you can focus on more high-level things or just take more time off of work, then having someone you need to micromanage probably isn't going to help you do that. And I know it can be hard to let go. A friend of mine just went through this recently, and she's the reason I'm recording this episode. Over the last few months, she's been complaining about her VA. She was unreliable, often moving due dates around for long-term projects without even discussing it with her, posting the wrong content on the wrong days, constantly needing to be reminded to do regular recurring tasks that should have been an easy thing to check off the to-do list, and all the while, no matter how many times my friend would meet with her, follow up with her, set expectations, etc., the VA somehow managed to never really see the error of her ways. She knew she was going to let her go, but she didn't feel prepared to bring on someone new. She didn't have SOPs. She wasn't sure she could find the unicorn who was both good at the creative and the tech stuff. And she just kept putting up with the BS. Throughout our conversations, I would remind her that, one, the platforms she uses in her business, her website or email marketing, etc., they were super popular, and about 99% of all VAs know how to use them. 2, none of the tasks she was having this VA do were so specialized that someone else wouldn't be able to pick it up quickly. And while having SOPs is always ideal, it's something I recommend you create even if you're a one-person show, it's possible whoever else she brings in will have a better way of doing that thing anyway. 3, she was spending so much time making sure the VA had everything she needed to get the job done, following up with her, meeting with her, trying to figure out why things weren't done, editing things that were done incorrectly, etc., that she could have just done it herself. And yes, that last one is a slippery slope. There are a lot of things we could say, I can just do it myself. And we don't want to put ourselves into that trap. But in this case, it was probably taking her more time than it would if she just did it herself, so she was basically net negative in productivity. But even with all of that, I think the most detrimental was the mental load of having this person on her team. They were taking up so much brain space, so much of her energy. I mean, even the time she was spending with me talking about the VA, we could have been strategizing her next business move instead, really was holding her back. And I've been there myself. A couple of years ago, I had a full-time VA in my business. I thought it was going to be so great to have someone who didn't have any other clients and I was their priority. But what actually ended up happening was I spent way too much time thinking about what I could assign them next. Not necessarily because it was going to make a huge difference in my business or what I really needed help with, but because I wanted to make sure I was getting my money's worth. It wasn't the right fit for what I needed at the time. Now, I want to be clear. I am not saying you should not hire. You do need to hire. And yes, sometimes before you feel fully financially ready to do so because you can't do the things you need to do to be financially ready if you're doing it all on your own. But worse than having no help is having the wrong help. It's kind of like the shitty partner you had in your 20s. You've already invested so much time. It's better than being alone. No, it's not. You need to kick that fool to the curb so you can meet the better person. The good news is that friend who inspired this episode, yeah, she got rid of the VA. And when she messaged me to tell me she finally did it, I could literally hear in her voice that the weight had been lifted. She apologized for bringing it up so much, saying it must have been so annoying for me to have to hear about it all the time. And I was like, actually, no, because every time you brought it up was an opening for me to remind you to get rid of her. And now that she doesn't have to spend hours a week following up with her, she can take the time to really think through what the right support will look like for her and the business she's building, so she can find the right person. Sure, it might mean she has to spend a little extra time actually doing work, but in her case, I think she's still going to end up spending less time on it overall. Again, please don't hear this episode and think, oh, I should go get rid of everyone and do it all myself and save a bunch of money. No, that will likely backfire. But what I do want you to hear is that if your team is not making your life easier, if they're not giving you back time that you can use to do something else, whether that's focusing on your next big strategy move or just spending more time with your family, then they're probably not the right person. And while people are absolutely the hardest part of running a business, it's never going to be super easy. The stress shouldn't be because they're completely unreliable and not a net positive to your bottom line. And if you have someone like that on your team and you've done your part to try and support them and get them where they need to be and it's still not working, it's okay to let them go. It's a good business decision to let them go. And sometimes it's not even about them being bad at their job. Sometimes you just hire for the wrong position and they're not the right fit for what you need. Maybe you hired a beginner when you really needed someone more high level, or you hired a strategist when you really just needed someone to do the grunt work, or you hired a VA when you really needed a fulfillment person. At the end of the day, having people on your team only works if you have the right butts in the right seats. And if you don't have that right now, here's your wake-up call to do something about it. Q3 is around the corner, which means so is Q4. Yeah, we're starting that conversation. So now is a really great time to buckle down and find the right support. Don't just hire to hire. Be ruthless about identifying your bottlenecks so you can be intentional about who you bring on your team. And that, my friends, is a wrap on this week's episode and what kind of felt like my tough love for the day. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you're having a kick-ass week, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about growing your e-commerce business, get started with my free resource library at ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff and get an invite to the Lounge, my e-commerce marketing membership. When you're ready for one-on-one support, apply to work with me at ecommercebadassery.com/apply. Before you go, would you do me a quick favor? Leave a rating and review and tap that follow button. This pushes me up the chart so I can support more scrappy e-commerce entrepreneurs just like you. I'm on a mission to reach as many as I can, and I could really use your help. Thanks so much in advance. Until next time, e-commerce friend, stay badass.